Good evening and thank you for staying with us right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. This is the World News. My name is Esther Wachiko. First start the top stories. WAEC vows full switch to CBT for WASC by 2026. NSIB to deliver Abuja Kaduna train crash report in 23 days. Troops free kidnapped victims in Zamfara state. UK warn Nigerians others to leave after visa expiry or face removal. Meanwhile, Atiku Abubakar berates President Tinubu, says over 10,000 lives lost under his watch. Meanwhile, Director of Obedient Movement discloses Peter Obi does not entice people with money. APC chieftain slams Marafa, calls him expired politician plotting against Tinubu. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The news begins with the West African Examination Council reaffirming its plan to migrate the West African Senior School Certificate Examination to a fully computer-based testing format by 2026. Head of WAEC's National Office, Dr. Amos Dagnott, gave the assurance today during a sensitization meeting with members of the National Assembly Committee on Education in Abuja. He also disclosed that the transition, which began with private candidates in 2024, has already made significant progress and will be scaled up nationwide ahead of next year's deadline. He also discloses that 5 exams have been conducted already, 1 for private candidates and 1 for school candidates, and by 2026 deployment will be massive. Speaking on concerns about infrastructure and cyber risk, Dangote assured stakeholders that WAEC had successfully conducted exams in hard-to-reach areas without disruptions. He explained that candidates' performances in CBT have been empirically better than in paper-based tests. Also, you recall that on the 9th of January 2024, reports that the examination body in 2024 dumped the paper and pencil test model and adopted the computer-based test mode for the conduct of the Senior School Certificate Examination for private candidates. WAEC seeks to build on the previous implementation to include general school candidates. Also, on the 22nd of July 2025, the federal government revealed that privately owned computer-based test centers and others belonging to public institutions would be fully deployed in the conduct of the school-based Senior School Certificate Examination by next year. The Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, speaking on the issues, disclosed that WAEC and NECO exams are school-based exams being conducted at their schools, and no, they would move away from that. In another development, the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau has announced that it will publish the preliminary report on the recent Abuja-Kaduna train derailment within the next 23 days. The incident, which occurred on the 26th of August 2025 at Asham Station, resulted in injuries to passengers, significant damage to railway infrastructure, and a suspension of train services along the Abuja-Kaduna route. Addressing journalists in Abuja today, the Director General of the NSIB, Captain Alex Badi, disclosed that within 23 days they will be able to make public the report of the investigation. The report would contain some of the factual evidence that is related to the occurrence and at least those that will give a way forward on the way the investigation is going to go. So within 23 days it will be provided with the preliminary report. But they explained that the Bureau needs additional funding to acquire modern investigative tools and provide advanced training for its investigators so they can handle incidents beyond the aviation sector. He stated that the investigation would involve a comprehensive technical assessment of the locomotives, coaches and other rolling stock to determine the root cause of the derailment and develop safety recommendations. Now to security, troops of Operation Fansanyama have freed 9 people, including women and children, from kidnappers from after ambushing terrorists in Shinkafi local government area of Zamfara state. Captain David Adeyanju, the media information officer of OPFY, confirmed the rescue in a statement recently. He explained that the victims were taken from Garin Batura village in Sabun Birnin local government area of Sokoto state, but were rescued after soldiers got reliable intelligence on the movement of the terrorists along the Isa Shinkafi Kaura Namuda Road. According to him, the rescued persons, including 3 women and 6 children, they were taken to General Hospital Shinkafi for medical checks before being handed over to Shinkafi local government officials to reunite them with their families. Soldiers also recovered an AK-47 rifle with 2 magazines, 20 rounds of ammunition, a motorcycle, 3 mobile phones, and a desert camouflage uniform at the scene. OPFY assured residents of the northwest and parts of north central that it would continue strong operations until terrorism and banditry were completely defeated. Moving on, thousands of international students schooling in the United Kingdom have been directly contacted by the government with warnings to leave once their visas expire or risk removal. According to a report by the BBC today, the Home Office has launched a first-of-its-kind campaign using text and emails to warn students. This is coming amid an alarming rise in visa overstays switching to the asylum system. According to the report, around 10,000 students whose visas are nearing expiry have already received messages. Over 130,000 students and their families are expected to be contacted over the incoming months, coinciding with a busy autumn intake period. According to Home Office data, in 2024, 15% of asylum claims, about 16,000, came from people who originally entered on student visas. With officials coming, the applications were made after visas had expired. She added that the rise is straining already overstretched asylum accommodation and hotel services. Of the 108,000 asylum applications made in the UK last year, 40,000 came from people who entered legally on work, study or visitor visas. 35,000 came from small boat crossings across the channel. Student visa holders form the largest group of legal entrants claiming asylum, with numbers nearly 6 times higher than in 2020. Although figures dropped by 10% recently, the Home Office insists further reductions are necessary. The message being circulated reads in part, if you submit an asylum claim that lacks merit, it will be swiftly and robustly refused. Any request for asylum support will be assessed against this destitution criteria. If you have no legal right to remain in the UK, you must leave. If you don't, we will remove you. End quote. Meanwhile, former vice president and also presidential aspirant of the People's Democratic Party in 2023, Atiku Abubakar, has claimed that over 10,000 Nigerians in the northern states have lost their lives since the advent of Bola Tinubu's presidency 2 years ago. He lamented that there has been a resurgence of killings in several north-central states, including Kwara, Niger, Plateau, and Benue. Atiku, who made the allegation in a personally signed press release made available to correspondents today, claimed that the federal government has ignored the renewed killings. He added that the development equals a monumental failure on the part of the president's government in its basic responsibility of securing the lives and property of citizens. The former vice president also alleged that the leadership of the All Progressives Congress has remained silent, leaving the victims to suffer neglect while they focus on politics. He therefore called on security agencies to rise to the occasion and be non-partisan in the discharge of their duties. In the same vein, the national coordinator of the Obedient Movement, Yunusa Tanko, has stated that former presidential candidate Mr. Peter Obi does not gratify or entice people with money. He explained that Obi focuses on education, youth entrepreneurship, healthcare, the Almajiri system and social support for the sick, poor and neglected. He stated this in a statement in Abuja today. Tanko asserted that Obi does not engage in personality attack or endorse it. He said, and I quote, "In the case of Dele Faratimi, he merely raised concerns about the manner of his arrest and detention, a point that was clearly understood by the elder statesman. It is also well known that Obi does not gratify or entice individuals with money. Instead, he channels resources into education, youth entrepreneurship, healthcare, the emergency system, and support for the sick, poor, and the neglect in the society. The movement coordinator said seeking mercy for another person while demanding accountability when one is falsely defamed are not contradictions. The discussion referenced a defamation case involving Farotimi, which was later withdrawn through the intervention of the Oni of Ife, not because Obi begged as falsely claimed. That narrative, according to Tanko Yunusa, is a deliberate lie. He said that Obi, like any responsible leader, reserved his legal options regarding the Yes Daddy audio. Tanko said that for Obi, choosing not to waste years in court did not equate to guilt. He said it was simply a strategy. As for the alleged WhatsApp broadcast against Lagos, there is absolutely no credible evidence linking Obi or his team to such messages. The same paid agents keep recycling lies without a shred of proof. Propaganda thrives on lies because the truth exposes their failures. He also discloses that the individuals parade themselves in all manner of titles, but in reality they are failed propagandists desperate for relevance. Their words carry no weight amongst Nigerians who are tired of deceit, corruption and manipulation. The fact that they keep dragging Peter Obi's name is only to gain attention. And on the political scene as well, a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress in Kano State, Musa Ilyasu Kwankwaso, has stated that former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai was trying to undermine President Bola Tinubu and other politicians ahead of the 2027 elections. He described El-Rufai as an expired politician who employs desperate tactics, blackmail and lies to get what he wants. Speaking via a statement, he stated that no political candidate could compete against Tinubu. He asserted that El-Rufai's lies about the president and others were known to Nigerians and political watchers, assuring that the former governor's political maneuvers had woefully failed. He argued that El-Rufai failed in his political maneuvers, saying that the recent by-election in Kaduna State was evidence of the former governor's lack of grassroots support and acceptance. Kwankwaso warned El-Rufai that he cannot discourage President Tinubu from the 2027 contest the way he did to former President Goodluck Jonathan in 2015, using poverty, insecurity, economic devastation, because El-Rufai's nefarious tendencies were known to everyone in the country. He also disclosed that El-Rufai and his allies used the same blackmail strategies against Jonathan in 2015. He stressed that Nigerians have woken up from their slumber politically to know those who sincerely want to work for the country's peace and progress. Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State has lambasted the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Wike, and his loyalists for threatening the planned People's Democratic Party National Convention, while Wike and his allies had raised a counterforce against the party's National Convention scheduled to hold in Ibadan on November 15 to 16th. The leaders, under the platform of eminent leaders and concerned stakeholders of the PDP in Abuja on Monday night, demanded fresh congresses in Ebonyi, Anambra and Ekiti states to address what they described as outstanding disputes. The communique of the meeting, read by former Benue State Governor Samuel Utem, stressed that fairness, inclusivity and respect for judicial decisions must guide the party's conduct ahead of its national convention. They warned that disregarding their resolutions could render the planned convention invalid and amount to disenfranchising genuine members. Among those present at the meeting were Wike, the PDP National Secretary Samuel Anyanwu, former governors Okeze Ikpeazu, Ayo Fayeshi and Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, House Minority Leader Kingsley Chinta, former Governor Samuel Utem, and several and former lawmakers. At the National Secretariat of the PDP, Bala Mohammed dared Wike to form a faction to disrupt scheduled activities of the opposition party. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment. This time, I'll be joined via the telephone with Barrister Fred Nzako, who is a political commentator, social affairs commentator as well. Do kindly stay with us. All right, welcome. You're still listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. I have joining me via the telephone Barrister Fred Nzako. Barrister Fred, good evening. How are you?
Thank you. Good evening, Esther.
Good evening,
I'm
sir.
doing well. How are you doing?
I am fine. How was the NBA conference? How was Enugu? How was your stay? And what were the kind of discussions that you had there?
Yeah, the conference was good and very robust, heavily attended. The conferees had swallowed time, enjoyed themselves in the heartland of Igbo land. Mm-hmm. Of course, you know that Enugu is the colonial and traditional capital of Igbo land.
Yeah.
And it showcased that. And I think we have a conference that can be adjudged one of the best in recent times.
Okay.
On account of every other measure, any standard of measure of a successful and enjoyable conference. Don't forget that while lawyers conferred and discussed issues relating to national development, lawyers also had time to engage in some banters and some networking among themselves, and also relax from the busy schedule of an average lawyer because it was a holiday.
Indeed.
The courts were also on holiday, and then I think generally we had a beautiful conference.
All right, Barrister Fred Nzako, let's go into the heart of the conversation. For now, we do know that while governance is supposed to be ongoing, I need you to understand where I'm coming from. While governance is supposed to be ongoing, while the administration of the president is meant to be administering, political discourse is the order of the day. And why is that so? There are a lot of issues bedeviling Nigerians, Barrister Fred. The cost of living, cost of food items, insecurity. And some persons are actually saying that it's not a miracle or a magic considering the previous administration that Nigerians experienced. But, you know, there were high expectations on the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to curb some of the inadequacies of the previous administration. Now, yes, on Wike, we know that he's working for the APC while he claims to be in the PDP. We also have certain elements as well who have been speaking very recently on behalf of the APC. We have a Deji Adeyanju who currently is bearing the brunt of some of the statements he has made. We are waiting to hear what Peter Obi will say about that. We also have certain other elements as well within the People's Democratic Party and the APC who seem to be waiting for something concrete so they can supposedly shift their post, especially those who are not content with this administration, and secrets are spilling. I'm going to start with the recent one which was made by El-Rufai. El-Rufai has made subtle threats against the administration of the day. He has not been specific, but he said that since he put Tinubu there, he's going to remove him, and when the time comes, he's going to speak. We don't know what he has up his sleeves. Wike as well has been spilling secrets. One of the secrets he spilled was that the PDP should not consider bringing in a Peter Obi, that it will ruin the party. That's one. Two, Wike had a recent meeting with some PDP former governors and senators, 7 senators, including the secretary. You know, Adeyanju is one of his, Samuel Adeyanju is one of his persons, and it's surprising that he's having a parallel meeting with members of the PDP when he is not the substantive chairman of the PDP. There are also fears that what he did in 2023, where there was a G5, is what he wants to do now that the PDP intends to have its convention. Wike wants to create chaos, create a faction in the PDP to weaken the strength of the party while they're trying to get themselves together. Now, Al-Makura very recently was hosted by the president. There are talks that Al-Makura may not necessarily be in support of the administration, but there are fears of where they want to pitch their tent or align. The big question is this: while all of these political maneuvers are going, Nigerians are hungry. Cost of transportation is on the rise. Insecurity is nothing to write home about. The president has assured that he is a president of all the Federal Republic of Nigeria, reading out the projects that his administration has put out there across all the regions, excluding Lagos. It says Lagos is a list of the states that is in terms of disbursing money for priority projects. What is your take concerning this?
Esther, you raised a lot of issues, but let me start with the one that concerns the welfare of the people, the life and welfare of the Nigerian people. The average citizen who is bearing the terrible brunt of misgovernance in the land. because politicians campaigned and made promises, and the people hoped that they will give them good governance. But unfortunately, and most unfortunately, what the people are getting is very far from what they expected. Now, the blame game continues. There is a shift of responsibility. Recall that in 2015, when APC came into power under Muhammad Buhari, they continued to blame PDP for the next 6 years of that administration. An administration that lasted for 8 years, used 6 years to blame the previous government, and then used only the 2 years left to bamboozle the people and make promises that they never fulfilled. Now that regime ended, and another APC government took over under President Bola Tinubu. The blame game continued again. Now, instead of blaming PDP traditionally as Buhari did, Tinubu's government now subtly continued to blame its own party under Muhammad Buhari. And then Nigerians now started wondering what could have happened, because President Bola Tinubu was the national leader of the party. And if the party had a credible manifesto to lead the people, how come they never implemented what they promised? And when Buhari was asked to come and give account of his promises, he denied. He said that he never promised those things, that it was his party that promised. So the people were now left at a quandary. We voted for APC under Buhari. Now APC is in power. Buhari denied ever making promises. Nigerians voted for APC again under President Bola Tinubu. APC is in power, and the same APC is blaming the previous government. And that simply tells you that when a political leadership does not have the interest and welfare of the people at heart, is not passionate about leading the people properly out of poverty and out of the doldrum, starvation, and the frustration that Nigerians are facing today, then such a political party should be taken with a pinch of salt. But now, instead of leading the people and taking responsibility for the terrible policies of the government continues to shift the blames, and in some cases, even blame the people they are leading, as if the people had committed offense to have voted for them to come to power. Any leader is holding power in trust for the people, and such power must be discharged with all manner of responsibility, bearing the people at heart. But it is very obvious that the leaders in Nigeria have very little feeling for the suffering masses, and that is why they don't give a hoot about the suffering in the land. And because if you see the way Amana money is spent, if you see the way Amana they take care of themselves, if you see the way Amana they allocate onto themselves the perquisites of office, even beyond what is constitutionally guaranteed, you now see that the people in leadership are seeing the rest of the country as a conquered territory to amass wealth for themselves and their families and cronies and allies. That is not democracy. I keep saying that what we practice is not democracy. Democracy is simplified as a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Nigerian democracy is not for the people. It is not by the people because the mandate of the people is not upheld, and it is obviously not for the people because it is for the elite. So we should begin to introspectively and philosophically look at the model and the pattern of democracy that we claim to practice in Nigeria, because what we practice is not the democracy in the contemplation of those who originated this pattern of government. And that is why it is not working, even though we have not generated or developed a pattern that will work, a system that is working for others, not working for us, because Nigeria still remains a geographical territory and not a country.
Barrister Nzako, let me come in here. A few days ago, a lawmaker representing Funtua constituency in Katsina State, his name is Abubakar Mohammed. He gave insight into why he decided to procure arms for his constituents and train them in weapon handling. He said it is to stop them from using stones to defend themselves against invading bandits who kill, rape, and kidnap them for ransom. Mohammed explained that when bandits attacked Bagari, the villagers fought back not with rifles but with stones in a desperate stand against constant attacks by the terror groups. Now, if you recall, very recently, the Chief of Defense Staff in a Monitor television program advised Nigerians to learn self-defense skills like combat training and all whatnot. And one question that was asked to him is it combat training that will be able to defend and protect them from those who have weapons, like supposedly rifles and machete and all of that? So imagine a lawmaker. This is how desperate things have become. You can no longer rely on our security operators. It feels like our security architecture is limited to what they can do. They can't cut across the corners. These insurgents are having the day, going about entrenching mayhem in several communities, and the people now are left to defend themselves. A lawmaker provided weapons for his constituents. Now, how do we know that these constituent members who have been given arms to protect themselves don't eventually become terror to themselves when they can no longer have access to food, or when they realize that they are desperate and they turn against themselves, as we have known is one of the things that happens when dark clouds surround certain communities?
Yes, Nigeria is run by terrible people who lie a lot and who have no conscience. The insecurity in Nigeria is not ordinary. Those who know, experts have said that even government officials, they know the causes of the insecurity. Even the government officials know the bandits. In fact, there was a governor that says that he gave an interview, I think it was Governor Paco, that says that they knew the bandits themselves, that they know them, that they interact with them in their communities. Now the question is, if you know the bandits and the terrorists, what has the government done to handle the terror they are unleashing on the people? Several parts of the northern Nigeria, people pay to survive. They pay bandits to live. They pay taxes to live. And some of them have said that, look, there was the incident that happened in Sokoto was as a result of the fact that the people, a section of the people failed to pay the taxes demanded by the bandits, and the bandits attacked them. Then the other side, gentlemen unwillingly paid and said it was better for them to pay and leave than not to pay and die, because the state actors will never come to their aid. Instead, the insecurity in Nigeria is not only man-made, but man-orchestrated and furnished by people in power. So there's no need going there, because the people in government, they know exactly what they are doing. When non-state actors overpower the state actors and the government is looking the other way. Meanwhile, the honorable in Funtua that went and armed these people, it was out of desperation. The secretary, the director general of SSS, also told a story about how he encouraged the community in Bauchi State to protect themselves. Thereby, he said in a conference attended by the military chiefs and other security agencies of Nigeria, he gave an instance of the people who protected themselves and the people who did not. That the ones who protected themselves and pushed back the terrorists had peace. Those that line on security agencies of government never had peace, and they continue to kill them. What it simply tells you is that the need for state police is overriding. But now, why are those in authority not looking in that direction? It's a very simple and critical question. If we say that there's an obvious need and an urgent need for us to have state police structure, why are we not thinking in that direction anymore? Government set up a committee to advise it on the state police. The same caricature was done by Muhammadu Buhari's government, and they set up a committee headed by then Kaduna State Governor obvious that the people in authority at the highest level in this country, they know what is going on. Those governors around the country, they know what is going on. They lack the will to protect the people. They lack the will to solve this insecurity. What benefit that they derive from it, I don't know. But I am very certain that they lack the will to do what is right. And that is why we continue to have problems, not only in the north, it boils down to the north central and occasional flashes in the south. And in some cases, it becomes a very big problem in the south. And we are all paying lip services to it. With its attendant frustration of economic activities all around the country. And the government is going up and down the world looking for foreign investors that will never come because nobody goes to invest in an environment of massive insecurity. So it is obvious that as Nigerians, we are deceiving ourselves. And we have been asking that let us sit together as a people and chart a way forward under restructured environment. Because Nigeria is not working. And I have studied Nigerian system and I am not optimistic that this country will ever work unless we restructure this country. It can never work. And if we know that it can never work, why can't we not structure it in a way that it will work? Nigeria is not productive economically. Nigeria is not productive security-wise. Nigeria is not productive in welfare and enjoyment of life. Nigeria is not productive in unity. Nigeria is not productive in development. Where is Nigeria productive as a country? And we know that we cannot be productive if we don't restructure. Why are we not talking about it? For example, APC campaigned on the threshold of restructuring and came to power in 2015. So today, are they talking about it? President Bola Tinubu, as a Democrat and as an activist, way back in time, had been a champion and an advocate of restructuring. He had given interviews several times saying that he does not believe in Nigeria as it is presently constituted. And that unless Nigeria is restructured, the country cannot grow. Today, he has the mantle of leadership as number one citizen in the country, and the president of the Republic of Nigeria, and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces is still talking about restructuring anymore. Look, it is not to just hold the election every 4 years, and we continue this ding-dong affair that produces nothing. We need to sit down and ensure that this country is restructured along the line of true fiscal federalism, so that all the things that should work will be ignited to work. Otherwise, we are deceiving ourselves. 2023, there was an election. We are all in defeat. 2027, every action, every activity is geared towards 2027, as if that is an end in itself. Election is not an end in the development of a country. It's only a process of selecting the leadership. What is important is how do we make sure that our structure is productive and Nigeria is growing and developing? That is what is important, irrespective of who becomes even the president. So Nigeria is majoring in the minor and the mundane issues, allowing the major critical issues that affect the life of the country unattended to. And that is why there is confusion in the land, frustration, despoliation. When you now top it up with a leadership that is very uncaring of the people, a leadership that does not give a hoot about whether the people are living or dying, a leadership that does not even think how to ensure that the poor boy in the village sees the next meal and goes to school, then it compounds the problem of the Nigerian issues. Nigeria is going through agonizing, terrible situation as we speak. Who will bear the cat has always been the thing song. But I know that to whom much is given, much is expected. And that is why somebody is giving the mantle of leadership as the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, whose word is law, whose order is called an executive order, and it is a quasi-law, who can influence things and make things happen. And that man today is President Bola Tinubu. What
Barrister
How
Fred
do we wriggle out of this problem that we find ourselves?
Thank you.
That is the question.
Thank you very much. You have actually spoken elaborately. These are pressing questions, and we're hoping that's why we have conversations on this platform that they're listening. All right, that beyond the political interests, beyond the controversy that surrounds our political hemisphere, what exactly is the delivery of the administration of the day that has a positive impact in the lives of the people? And I'm referring to immediate positive impact, not impact of 10 to 15 years to be felt when those of this generation may have actually become dry or literally died out of hunger, or necessarily may not be able to actually experience the benefits of the policy implementation that is just being fomented. Barrister Fred Nzako, thank you so much for taking your time to give us insights on the world news at 6. We sincerely do appreciate your input.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Barrister. All right, and that was Barrister Fred Nzako right there. He's a political, national, social affairs commentator. Barrister Fred Nzako also is an economic analyst. And just before we go, let's look at stories outside the shores of Nigeria. A fresh magnitude 5.2 aftershock has struck eastern Afghanistan 2 days after a powerful quake in the same region killed more than 1,400 people and injured 3,000 others, according to the Taliban government. What rescue efforts following the magnitude earthquake have been complicated by landslides that have blocked roads, making land travel difficult. Helicopters have been deployed to aid the search for survivors in the ruins of remote villages where many are feared trapped under the rubble. The Taliban government, which is only recognized by Russia, has appealed for international help. The UN has released emergency funds, but the UK has pledged £1 million in aid. Afghanistan is prone to earthquakes, but Sunday's tremor was one of the strongest to hit in recent years. The aftershock on Tuesday came at 12:29 Greenwich Mediterranean time, with its epicenter 34 kilometers, which is 21 miles away from Jalalabad, the country's 5th largest city. BBC reporters in the Sokai district at one of the worst affected areas in the northeastern Kunar province said they felt a very strong jolt. There are no reports of damage or new casualties. Helicopters are being used to airlift survivors of remote villages in Kunar province, where most of the death and injuries occurred. The terrain was so rough in one part of the Mazar Valley that one helicopter failed to land after 3 attempts. Survivors in that area say that some areas are actually deep and peaceful when the sudden tremor struck, and obviously their world turned upside down. And that's a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. Good evening. Thank you for listening. The evening rush will be coming up at 7 o'clock. To kindly stay with us.